Another distro that's caught my eye recently is Calculate Linux. And Calculate Linux or Linux is another rolling release distribution, but what makes it different is it's based on Gentoo Linux, which a lot of distros are anymore based on Gentoo, and essentially it comes with a binary installation, and you can install it either for your desktop or for your server setups, even for VPSs. And essentially once I believe it's installed, you basically can start running it and updating it using Emerge, which is of course Gentoo's Gentoos Portage, or the software library and updating. And quite a lot of the stuff, I believe, already uses binaries as well, so you don't have to necessarily recompile from scratch. And their documentation is actually pretty well, there's actually a lot of it. I mean, they've got everything from installing their documentation to Portage introduction, if you're not to show how Portage works, different templates, which is very popular in the Gentoo world, to use flags, the most popular really traditional Gentoo. So I believe some folks use this to get their system up and running as a quick way of basic Gentoo, and then start using Portage and use flags on top of that. And of course, templates, of course, is popular in the Calculate Linux world, which is how they have configured it. Versions available, I know I mentioned there's quite a few here, even cloud versions, so 4 different containers, LXT and LXT containers, and they have a testing branch as well, so it gets nightly releases, and you can actually see they've got Linux Scratch, which basically is a minimal set, so you use that and you start building up from that. So also, ideally, if you want to have a basic point for your Gentoo and build a full Gentoo system on top of that. And of course, they've also got on the server side, so if you look in download server, you'll actually see they've got container management OS and of course directory server OS. So their directory server is basically, to use instead of Active Directory. So it's essentially, it's an LDAP server. And of course has additional stuff such as DNS proxy and mail, etc. So can kind of replace an SBS or small business server. I don't know their server, so I haven't tried it. And of course this distro, if you check about its history, is actually a fully developed distro, originally I believe from Russia. But anyway, what I have done so long, I've downloaded the Cinnamon edition. You can see all the different editions available here, RTX, CKD, and I thought I'll just use Cinnamon because there's something a bit different on the channel. So let's boot, install this, and take it for test run. So record disk, media, calculate Linux. I don't know if this is going to have calculate. No. Gentoo. It does have Gentoos, that's fine. Give this quite a bit of memory and CPU cores. Let's give this thing 80 gig hard drive space. Of course, this is calculate Linux, and in the background I've fixed the memory, made sure it's got a 8 gigs of memory, and because of an issue earlier, I have increased the hard drive space to this thing to 200 gigs, because apparently for default automatic setup it needs at least 157 gigs. Anyway, let's do this. So we're going to go straight to the installation. Let it start up. Time zone. Yeah, will be Let's go find America. LA. Next. Okay, distribution is fine. We don't want to do anything with advanced settings, so that's fine. We want to erase a disk and calculate, so I'm just going to make this ext4 for both the root and the data partition and size. I'm going to just go next, and it should automatically configure its own sizing around here. So let's go next. Migrate the network settings. The system is really picky when it comes to a root password. So a normal 4 characters is not going to work. Trust me on this one. So let's just give this a strong password. There. Okay. It's got a guest account, which you also need to go in, and I'm going to change that from guest to Gosh, and I'm going to also give this a strong password. We don't want to auto log in anyway, so let's go next. Pipewire is fine for the default. Video resolution, not the greatest. We'll fix that after install. Updates, I can check automatically and start installing. Say run. This image should be formatting the partitions and unpacking the system image to target. So I'll be honest, this is my second run through the install. The first run is where I discovered some of the limitations. So if I was a first-time Linux user, yes, I should read the documentation, but a lot of other distros using, either the Anaconda installer. I know some folks don't like Fedora's installer, I like it, or even using Calamari's. I find those a lot easier than this, although I suppose you just have to pay attention of what you're doing here. But if I was a first-time Linux user, I would not want to use this installer. Again, you could argue how many first-time Linux users will be using something like Calculate Linux, and let's also be honest, this installer is a lot easier than if you're doing a Gentoo install step by step. So I see it's updating the config. There's an option here that says break the process. I don't have any idea why the heck you would choose that. Guess everyone to their own. And no idea how long this is going to take. Oh, okay, this is pretty quick. Would you like to put the computer now? Yes. Okay. I think it's using kernel 5.15, which is an RTS kernel, long-term support kernel. So, on a running distro, not actually a bad idea to use a LTS kernel. Okay, so I have the option to log into as Gosh or as the root, and let's log in. Make the screen a bit bigger. Okay, that's installed at least. Thanks to me. I'm just gonna apparently leave the panel where it is. Okay, so let's go to our display set at 20. Keep the new config. Okay, cool. Much better. So using Cinnamon out of the box and accessories, apps, gedit files, Nemo 5.61 out the box here. We've got Font Forge, Chromium, Cupid Turbo Remnia for my desktop, Office. So LibreOffice is pre-installed here. And 7.3. All right. And I see here specifically actually. So it is the Gentoo package, so let's exit that. Rhythm box videos, no VLC, system monitor. Okay, so you can see how it's actually split itself up here. There's the root. So the root directories, not much space, the majority of it is given to a separate home directory, which is best practice. Okay, resource-wise, using 1.32, so not much memory. That's Cinnamon, and of course not too much processor usage. Calculate Linux update. Okay, so grow. I guess updates. Okay, what else did I see here? Okay. Terminal preferences. Let's calculate console. Oh, that's it. Okay, this is pretty cool. Okay, so it's their own configuration tool. Preferences, GUI, image height. Okay, so configure the audio. So this refers back to some of the settings the installer gave us. Okay, and this thing here is still carrying on. I don't know if it's automatically applying that text as well. I think it is. Okay, and here of course you can create a container, create the image. So assume an image of the install that you've got. System. Okay, this is nice. This is a nice little tool. I like it. Good, almost a compliment to be web-based. Able to migrate it and help about. So, would I like to merge these packages? Yes, I would. Okay, so now it's going to go and apply some updates here for us. So here I have sound. Lighting. Calendar. Fine. And this is fetching, not too sure how long this is going to take. What that does, I just look at the wallpapers on the reference. I don't genuinely look at wallpapers with Linux distros, but every now and then it's fascinating, and some nice little penguins. The sad thing here is that these wallpapers are 1024 by 768. Should think that have some newer wallpapers, especially with this day and age of high resolution screens. Even if it's just using some upscaling on them. Okay, so right now, this is fetching and doing its updates. I think it has a lot of binary packages in the background, so it shouldn't have to be building from some source or anything, I don't think. But I'm going to let it continue fetching packages. We, in the meantime, let's can take a bit of a look around here. So, is NeoFetch installed? No. Okay, we'll install that just now. Let us go to -r to check the kernel. So it is 5.15 kernel. And so suspected. Again, not really using too much memory as we saw earlier. Let's go back to here's account config. Username, gosh. Check for advanced settings. Execute. Custom action. Okay, we don't want to know this. Show groups. It's just close that. Okay, I'll pause and come back. Okay, we have finally moved on to the emerging portion now. So we're installing the updates. It's taken quite a long time to download all of these updates. I know it's quite a lot with it being a running release, and possibly the mirrors might not be the best mirrors. But happy to see that it is busy emerging and updating. And I did further reading on a calculator, Linux's website, and this is one of the recommended ways of installing, or you can run the same command from the CLI, and it will take care of quite a lot of the work of doing the updates. You can configure it to install it using binary files, to use source files, and you can build them or merge them that way. If you wanted to close it to normal Gentoo, you could do it like that. But yeah, one of the reasons I guess you would use this type of version of Linux again is to, if you want to start teaching yourself about emerging and portage and that type of stuff. So it's kind of a easier way, I suppose you could say, of getting to know some of the tooling that Gentoo uses before perhaps jumping straight into full-on Gentoo. I'll resume this as soon as we're back from the next step, which will most likely be restarting. Okay, so now that Calculate Linux has completed, did what it needs to do, and it's up and running, did a quick reboot, was having logging issues, so just bear that in mind, and let me just authenticate quickly. So one of the things you'll no doubt want to do is how do you install additional software. And of course, since this is Gentoo based, you of course are going to use emerge. So I'm at root, and let's say for example I want to install, I don't know, VLC, which isn't installed. I would just do emerge space VLC, then hit enter. And of course now it's going to check portage, check its dependencies. That I could actually -p parameter for extra info. And of course here it's now busy getting the binary files, so we're not building from scratch, so it should be a lot quicker. So we'll let that run that in the background quickly. I will say though, when I've different updates of this OS earlier, it took many hours to get it completed. And FYI, I actually also ran it on my laptop and had issues after I did an update. So that was for the KD version. So I don't know if I did something wrong or what it is. I'll probably try a different install on different hardware again at some other point. Of course, I think this is a great way to really get into the Gentoo emerge and portage side of things without going head first into Gentoo. But again, everyone to their own, which is really, really interesting. Let's this just continue over here. So let's just do a new tab quickly. I did previously emerge fetch, and of course you can see here it is using the latest kernel since the reboot, etc. And just checking free space. Really doesn't use too much CPU and memory. usage, except it looked when it's doing a couple of jobs like it's doing now, so this might take a couple of moments while it emerges, does what it needs to do. Okay, so you can see here it's finally continued doing what it needs to do. So it's built and installed packages, and if I click here and go to sound, you'll now see the VLC is installed, which is great stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching this video of Calculate Linux. Hoping in future to do a couple more videos, especially around Portage. So as always, thanks for watching.